Altcoin. We got Drew is taking.
I'm still Bitcoin.
It was 6 or 7 different people just all trading different positions, talking about what's going on, because it's been so much alpha here at the Bitcoin conference, but also here in Vegas. So I know last night, Drew and I and DZ and a bunch of other people, we went to a comedy show trying to break out of what's going on, but it gets sucked right back into crypto, even at the comedy show. And we couldn't be more excited to be here bringing the alpha to you.
Yeah, and chat's going crazy. They don't believe that we're all 7 feet tall. But yeah, Drew's 7'2". I'm a comfortable 7 foot. I think DZ won't admit this, but he's only 6'9" and 3/4. He's not quite 7 feet yet. And then Kelly's just an absolute saint here. But dude, the news here. Let's get into the news.
Let's get to
this. First, markets are doing well.
Yeah, speaking of the markets, I got Bitcoin on the 1 minute chart here. We got Bitcoin starting to make some major moves here. We like to see a little bit of movement. Bitcoin, very, very bullish action early in this morning, but then it's just been pulling back. A nice little drawdown here. We can go ahead and measure this as it's pulled down over 1%, over $1,000 in about 1 hour. And so we're looking for a reversal. And I just want to give a quick shout out, though, to Drew's outfit. This is a phenomenal get up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you look like a young, hotter cat turd.
This is from Troy Lindsay. He's a channel fan, a channel favorite, man. And
what is a cat turd?
Cat turd is
youngins in the house.
It's just an influencer, millions of followers out there.
Oh, on X.
Yeah.
No, this is Troy Lindsay. His wife made this for me custom, and shout out to you, Troy. I mean, he's an awesome dude, supporter of the channel for a really long time, and they made this custom for me. So this is a one of a kind. No one else.
I looked up cat turd. It's in the litter box with Jules and cat turd. I don't. I'll have to look into this a little bit more.
But not in the litter box with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin making some major moves. And probably one of the primary reasons we're going to see some bullish action is 401ks are about to start pouring into Bitcoin in a major way here. This is just a major news as the U.S. Department here, the greenlit crypto and 401ks is the Labor Department. They just removed the block crypto, now fair game in retirement plans. People have captured 1% of these assets. If we can pull that off, going to be about $70-80 billion. We're about to unlock $7 to $8 trillion, and a large percentage of that, in my opinion, is going to be going into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, it quite clearly after this conference. I mean, just watching all the Trump speak, all these politicians speak, everything's being adopted. New York just announced municipal bonds with Bitcoin in New York City, the financial hub of the world. So, I know nothing is sexier for the chat than 401ks. They love us talking about those 401ks, but again, this is just the next path. It's when Bitcoin's added to the pension funds, when it's added to our retirement savings, when it's added to our sovereign wealth funds. These are all conversations that we're having here. It's a domino effect. Like it's in the United States right now is leading it. When in the AI race, we're kind of head in head with China, but with crypto, we have the chance to not only consume the space, but absorb and bring it to the US. So every single conversation here is about how much accumulation is going to happen, how much money is about to open up. And as soon as that just takes place with the US economy, again, everybody, what was the most bearish price prediction here to this week? Maybe 170K.
The most bearish one I saw was, I think, from Seamus from SoFi yesterday, speaking on the main stage, and he was just saying that he thought the price could go up north of 150, maybe 190, 200. And
he was,
but that the price would likely pull back sometime next year to somewhere in the 90s, 100s. And the funny thing is, I don't look at that as bearish at all.
No,
I would see that as a normal, market cycle oscillation. But all these things that have just been stacking in nonstop. We also have, I know we're going to be talking about the Pakistan news here in a bit too, but the 401k is the most exciting thing about that is we love Bitcoin. We love crypto. How come nobody else, or how come most people aren't focused on this actively? The whole point here is going to be, we're going to get an onslaught of tens of millions into the 20, 30, 40, 50 million people that are going to get access and exposure to Bitcoin in a passive manner, sometimes not even knowing that, like, hey, I'm buying Bitcoin. They're just getting this retirement, whether it's the higher risk, mid risk, low risk, how they have those set up. And I think a lot in 5 years time, people that don't even know they own Bitcoin will be holding Bitcoin.
100%. And, a lot of the conversation around asset management companies that are going to be managing these funds are looking at the Bitcoin yield. That's kind of the next big narrative that's really starting to spark here. But, we'll pull up the chat here from YouTube on the screen. I want to get your guys' Bitcoin price predictions for 2025. Let us know what you think it'll be by the end of the year. I tend to be on the little bit more weaker side.
Yeah, you're way more bearish than
which my peak's like 130 to 150. But it's again,
wait, the peak by the end of the year,
or 150.
Okay,
like potentially the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is incredibly conservative, but it's not like in a bad way. That's me saying the 4-year cycle's over. Is going to be stair stepped up, and when we get to 130 to 150, It's going to be another massive, like each range could be 6 months. And it's just because we're dealing with this institutional manipulation until, like, just look at the altcoins, right? There's no alt season right now because retailers have no money. And we're going to keep moving into this institutional cycle. I think it's going to be institutional focus with institutional investments.
Well, on that note,
I just don't trust BlackRock. Sorry, guys.
Concerning like the alt season, all of us want it. Everybody's holding all these altcoins, just waiting, not realizing that we did have two, very real sort of mini alt cycles over the last year.
Yes.
What we're doing going forward is, you and I, DZ, Drew, all of us have done a number of interviews with different developers, with different, basically market participants, all kind of different people here at the conference. And one of the things that's been in a pretty huge focus is this move towards at least the development of, we'll have to see about the adoption, but of Bitcoin DeFi and that layer 2 space. So with all this institutional money getting very hyper-focused currently on Bitcoin, and for those that aren't paying attention, there's a lot of institutional focus on ETH too. But I do think that that's going to sort of pour over also into at least some sort of mini cycle with Bitcoin DeFi. The question is going to be, does that steal any, potential thunder from the rest of the altcoin market?
100%. And it goes back to, that's why my portfolio is so institutional. Like Ethereum, it's Chainlink. And Chainlink, we were talking about this yesterday on yesterday's show. You guys want some alpha? We'll get through the news here today and show you this at the end. But there's something that happened in Chainlink specifically in November, and I'm very excited on. So again, it's not like I'm a long-term bull here. For me, it's like, okay, 150 maybe this cycle, but it's not. I don't believe in that 4-year cycle anymore. So this means 250 could be within 2 to 3 years. And then I'm looking at that long-term. These people are saying $1 million. Kathy Wood, $5 million by 2030. I would like to see the hash rates and the security of the network develop a little bit more maturely and slowly than this aggressive price action in the United States. So we're looking at, $500,000 to $600,000.
And looking at some of the chat's messages here, 218K, some of the higher ones, 130K. We got a lot of people in the 140 range, 142, 150K. So a lot of people, different ranges when it comes to Bitcoin. But I do think the institutions, you're saying, going to lead the way. Well, I got the facts. I got the data. I got the numbers. You about to get DZ'd, BlackRock. This is the last 10 days. We are now 10 consecutive green days on the ETF flows. Yesterday, we pulled in $432 million. If you recall, the 934 earlier about a week ago, that was just shy of a record. So we're seeing record amounts of money coming in from Wall Street to buy as much Bitcoin as possible.
Yeah, it's unlike the band, we have a lot of actual value that's taking place here. No, I'm just kidding.
And you know what I've noticed this year? A lot of people have said this too, walking around talking at the conference, especially those that have been to many different conferences over the years. This year's different. So just much like people are wondering, is this cycle different? I do think it is a bit different because you could tell just by walking through the Bitcoin conference this year with the institutional grade people that are there, the blazers, the suit coats, and even having people or institutions like Exxon and Shell having booths here at the conference.
Dang it, Kelly, I got the more stats for that one as well. Institutions are here. Retail is out. We can prove that with the Google Trends numbers right here. This is the past 5 years. You can see retail is not here. The public is not interested in Bitcoin at this point. We got very excited after Trump's presidency. You can see it pumping right around the tail end of October, beginning of November. But then it's just been on the way down as people just care less and less about Bitcoin. I don't know why this is.
This is a good thing because retail tends to flow in hordes exponentially when you're building into a top. And this is not, we're not seeing that right now, which tells me that we've got plenty of time to stack. This move down to 106, it's so scary. We've been calling for a move down to 105, potentially even down to the $97,000 to $98,000 region. So we need to be ready and able to stack in, have dry powder, or at least step away from the computer if you get these moves to the downside, because retail's not here yet. I think we have so much higher to go before we even have to worry about a top.
When it happens, it comes quick too. It's like, we're talking about retirement accounts and stuff like that. We have Bitcoin IRA as a partner of the channel. And I think that the long-term outlook of Bitcoin has never been more solid. Now, we are seasonally seeing, over cycles, a great time to gain Bitcoin by holding altcoins. But that time frame where you're winning in altcoins against Bitcoin, usually pretty short. And it's very violent to the upside. You make a lot of gains in Bitcoin to, Avalanche or whatever pair it might be. But it's about taking the profits, and within our setup, make sure to hit up Bitcoin IRA because you can actually do some transitions of those bags within your IRA account when the time is right, and it gives you some major advantages.
Want to see how fast that alt season was? Because
let's check it out.
A limited amount of time. I'm just going to keep pulling up the charts and the data. Call me Mr. Data today. This is the weekly chart on Bitcoin dominance. I'm not going to have this move right here. This is the beginning part of 2021. Altcoins went nuts.
9 days.
49 days.
It's
Now,
short-lived.
You could say it kind of started around December, but then, it went flat, went sideways. A lot of people got shooken out. That's the really parabolic. That's the point where things are just going nuts and bananas.
Yes.
You can't time the top. You can't time the bottom. That is exactly right. When it moves quick.
So you have 4 years, and then all of a sudden, about 49 days, you make all your money. This is why it's like
That's what it
Nice,
is.
long, slow bleed.
the
against
markets
Bitcoin right
remain
there.
irrational
Like
longer
Moses
than most
walking
people
through the
can
desert for
remain
40 years,
solvent,
dude.
You're
That's
like,
what it
yeah,
is.
the Oasis is right around the corner. That's the Oasis. That's the Oasis. What the heck is going on
Hey,
here?
I'm thirsty. These
We're just dying.
pretzels are making me thirsty.
There we go with the Seinfeld reference. But now we're talking about Bitcoin. We should roll into Pakistan.
Oh,
Institutional adoption here. Major news announced at the Bitcoin conference. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit bigger than the El Salvador news of 2021, just based off their GDP. I'll pull that up in a minute. Pakistan's prime minister added a new member to the cabinet. This cabinet member said there's going to be a Pakistani strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now the dominoes are falling, folks.
so where do you know where they're at on that? Like, is this kind of like where we're at in the U.S., where it's proposed? It still needs a lot of things to happen.
If I had to guess, secretly accumulating as we speak.
In the
Mhm.
U.S. or
Yeah.
Pakistan.
well, either or,
Pakistan.
because like here we're still
U.S. will take a few years.
right.
Oh, so you're saying they could be seizing criminal Bitcoin at this point?
It-
Maybe that's how they're building it up.
Well, I mean,
I think
we're
they're
already one
buying
of the
for
largest
sure.
holders, but no. So
Wasn't there a
You'll
big
see-
criminal
they'll
arrested in
create, like,
Pakistan? We
pay
crashed a
taxes Bitcoin.
helicopter. Did we
Oh,
steal
my
any of his
God.
Bitcoin?
Who?
Listen, they just have
Some major criminal. I don't.
what
remember
Josh
his
is
name.
talking
We're
about,
not gonna
though.
talk about
The length of time it's going to take longer here in the U.S. to do it because we have so much legal, back and forth to get through.
Checks and balances,
Pakistan,
you have
They can
judges
move
that think that
fast.
they're above the executive power, and there's just going to be
Right, they'll block everything.
first, all these
Pakistan's like, we're doing it.
like I wouldn't even be shocked. I mean, and we're expecting to take place, but they're going to find easier routes for like Cynthia Lummis has genius ideas of like taking the value of the gold like that. We like go audit Fort Knox, see how much gold we actually have.
By the way, everybody in chat, drop a 1 in chat if you think the gold is there. Drop a 2 in chat if you're saying I don't know. I'm
I
stacking
think
Bitcoin either
I think
way.
most of it's. I hope most of it's there. Or Jamie Dimon's like, oh, maybe it's in his.
We need Cuba
basement,
Gooden
but-
Jr. Show me the
Yeah, so
money.
for anybody that's just watching, if you don't know how this is going to work, like legal is the government's the slowest thing on the planet. And while this administration's coming in kind of like acting like a tech giant, just executive order after executive order after executive order, just because an executive order is published, it doesn't mean it actually gets done. Like actually, probably the majority of executive orders, nothing ever happens. A lot of them from most administrations are political stunts to say, oh, hey, look, we're doing something. But then actually has to, go through all the different legal loopholes, make sure it's even viable within the United States government, if it meets the constitutional standards. And then it starts so this takes months and months and months. And if you have ever met a politician, all these people care about are 2 things: money and recess. Okay. They barely work. So like if something doesn't get pushed in January, you're going to wait probably till the next season, the next fall season before it starts getting back through the House, which then has to go to the Senate. Then it's got to go to the governor. It's got there's so many things that need to take place. So with the market structure bill, you're going to get that first. You're going to get stable coins first. Those are way easier to regulate, way easier to structure around.
And more important
Bitcoin
for the
strategy.
U.S. I would just say security. The U.S. Treasury
Exactly.
buyers. We need the buyers to step in. It's going to be the stablecoin issue.
100%. So I would love to see a strategic reserve, hopefully next year, but that's something that could take easily 3-4 years. And you shouldn't be scared of it. Like you need to understand that's how long it takes for the U.S. So the Pakistans, I imagine you're going to see, the Indias, the other GDP countries, if they see this progression taking place, it's going to cause a domino.
One thing on that, I pulled up Pakistan's rank here. It's 42. We've talked about the states. How Texas, I want to say California's at number 8. Texas is around.
California's number 5.
Okay,
Texas
so Texas
is number
is 8.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about some major amounts of money. So Pakistan ranked 42, top 50. Pretty good, pretty solid.
Top 50 and what?
So the GDP rank is 42 out of all the countries.
So which is pretty crazy.
They're what, 40, was it 500 million?
What do you mean? Oh, for their GDP.
I
I
don't
did
think I'll
have
have
that
it.
as
It'll be like
well.
El
The
it's like El
GDP
Salvador,
is
maybe.
right here. And yes. Okay. Decent amount right there.
What is it?
I think it's 373 billion.
Look at that.
Chad agrees with that. They don't think the
Billion.
gold is there, boys. Like, what if the,
the gold's
gold's
not
not in there?
my
That's
guess.
what we're talking about. It's like, why are they leaving the gold on the books here in the United States at a value of $42 an ounce?
Here's a question. Where is the gold then?
Right.
If it's not there, who has it?
You know what I was talking about yesterday was the Fort
Saddam?
Knox of cheese. I want to see the cheese reserve.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
like 2 point.
That's all
Is it a
billion dollar
giant
tree.
refrigerator?
Yeah, think about the cost of maintenance on that.
That's insane. Yeah, that's
Never think about it. They're leaving it at $42 an ounce on the American balance sheet. We have all of this debt and all of this problems about how much money we're, taking out as loans and this Ponzi scheme we're running. Wouldn't it be better to reevaluate that at the current market price?
Yeah, 3,000 versus $42.
Right, because
we'd have $180 trillion market cap of gold, which would be so great for our GDP debt to income ratio.
I think the answer to our question is in the logic of the question itself. It's like they're leaving that open-ended and leaving it at 42
Like
bucks.
Michael Saylor.
Dude,
Like
Chat
Michael
wants-
Saylor.
absolutely, man.
Now, Arkham, did you see the latest news from Arkham?
Let's check it out.
Someone in the chat threw it up. So guys,
No, I didn't.
Arkham
actually.
says they found 87% of strategies Bitcoin there.
Man, this leak,
So way better than Fort Knox.
this Docs and Sailor like that. So there's like, no, I want to keep our private.
There it is.
keys. And now Arkham's like, hold my purse. Well, here is what Eric Trump, someone we had the opportunity to meet in Bitcoin Mina, and I asked for a White House press pass. We hopefully will be getting soon. Here's his Bitcoin price prediction. I want to get everybody's thoughts.
I think clears 170,000. That's my prediction. Don, what do you think about that? 170.
I was going to say between 175 and 150, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Well over 200,000.
Yeah.
It just comes in at the end. Just I'm gonna go big or
That's
go
TJ.
home. That was TJ.
Yeah, that was TJ on stage right there at the end there. No, I mean the
TJ.
170 to 200 mark is actually kind of a reasonable. That's reason. It's not like the $1 million this cycle calls. Those ones get me a little bit, but if we just like you were talking about at the beginning of the show, a normal cycle progression and a normal stair step up to the upside. Once we reach, if we were touching 150, that's what DeFi, and those treasury companies buying, a lot of they're doing the the bonds and stuff like that through Tether. But I think DeFi season really starts to kick off when we see that 150 Bitcoin, and people want to protect that value, but then go play around in the alts.
Yeah.
That's where I could see some of that bleed over happening.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see this conversation around Bitcoin, DeFi, and everything. But and this is where people are like, Josh is so bearish. It's like, no, I think we're just maturing as an asset class. That's all I'm referring to. It's we're not going to have this retail traditional cycle that we saw over and over again. Like,
Are
look,
we mature
we're at
because
the-
we boo
we are.
150?
Oh, well,
We're gonna
so
pump 50%.
There's a lot more degeneracy. There's a lot more
Boo.
degeneracy.
Only 50% in 6 months. Boo.
Yeah.
But let's give me name one tech conference the size of Bitcoin Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, no, it's up there with
So it's like it's that pendulum shifting is what I'm saying. So the degeneracy will be pushed to side events, but there's always going to be degeneracy. Dude. Like, is there not degeneracy in the stock? Look at Purdue Pharma, like hosting strip clubs for like their pharmaceutical companies. Like whoever sells the most drugs.
Well, I'm surprised
you
they
get
didn't go full
rewarded.
degen. They heard 200K, crowd started going wild. If I was
Yeah.
there, I'd be like 225.
Yeah.
I would have started 300. Come on,
I get a four,
come on,
get a five.
$1 million this
$1
year.
million Bitcoin.
Has anyone's at 100 million yet? Who's going to be the first person? We
Who's
should
gonna be the
claim that. We'll be
first?
like,
Yeah.
it's going to $100
Yeah, we
million
get it, yeah.
dollars.
Someone has
one
said
day.
10. We should, it's going to 100 million one day. Okay.
Well,
Going
there
to 100.
is somebody that believes we are going to go to $1 million with a banger speech here. This is from Lark Day. Arthur Hayes delivered a banger speech at the Bitcoin conference, and this is actually who we're going to have. We interviewed him already. The video will be out tonight for you guys talking about this $1 million Bitcoin. But by 2028, take a listen to this and his reasons why.
And all the aid that was given to the financial sector within the United States totaled about $4 trillion. And from the lows of March of 2020 to 70,000 in 2021 in November, we went up about 10x. Remember, price is set on the margin. It matters about the much larger marginal price, not the whole stock. And so if we have less Bitcoin on exchanges due to ETF demand, and we're printing double the amount of money between now and 2028 than when we did till COVID, then Bitcoin $1 million is just easy. Thank you very much. Hope to see you all.
He
And
says
all-
it so casual, like it's like it. Then Bitcoin $1 million, and it's true. Why? Because there's a guarantee in all fiat systems that you're gonna need to print money, and it's always more than the time before.
And the prints have been hard. I mean, if we look at the deficit, like how much they're printing, and sure, it's not the traditional quantitative easing, but treasury bond buybacks to shore up your own currency because no one else is out there interested in buying your debt. That's another version of quantitative easing. So that's just more printing, just designed differently. $1 million Bitcoin on standard progression of markets, more of a 2028 kind of conversation for me. That is a $20 trillion market cap. That is accomplishing the current market cap that gold has right now, just under it, in a pretty short amount of time. So, when we're thinking about this in the long term, this is why I can remain so here to stay on Bitcoin, is because it's just swallowing up all the interest for long-term outlooks of growth. I mean, AI and Bitcoin is basically where it's at for the next, cycle or two.
That's looking forward. And if you look backwards, fiat has like 100% failure rate.
Yeah.
In a long enough time scale. There's not a single civilization that hasn't started wars that they couldn't pay for, that
Easy.
they
This
had to
time's
print their
different.
way out of.
This time's
different,
okay?
though. This time's different.
It's only been thousands of years at that.
Yeah.
This time's different. This time's completely.
And if you look at those money charts, it has already happened. We just are kind of, we were talking about it on Monday, kicking the can down the road, and we just keep continuously kicking the can.
And it's even worse this time than the previous money cycles, of dominance of different reserves, because Trace Mayer yesterday was saying on stage with Natalie Brunell, debating with Peter Schiff, that if you really think about it, it's not even like we had money. Oh, and then we get the certificate for the money, the certificate for the gold. We had that, but then now we have a false representation of the certificate, and it's not even backed by anything. There's literally nothing that backs our money, and the world is waking up to this because the way we have with social media, the access to a varied set of views that's outside of just the mainstream structure of what they want you to know, what they don't want you to know. Fiat systems, I think, is at this age right now, with AI coming in, with the social media that's present, and the Bitcoin and blockchain technology that is just, it's growing like wildfire, because it is a solution to so many things beyond just being a money system.
Yeah. We got someone in the chat there. Romans clip coins. It was their version of printing money, and it might have been more than just the Romans doing that as well. Now, speaking of value added, you saw major news from Avalanche, everybody. If you're an AVAX holder, this is some of the biggest news. I would say maybe even bigger than the California DMV test pilot here. $240 billion in real estate coming on chain. They're working with Bergen County and multiple other New Jersey municipalities to digitize property records. It's powered by Avalanche. This is the largest blockchain deed initiative in U.S. history. Why'd they have to choose New Jersey, though? Let's crap on New Jersey, the stinkiest
But you know what? This is one of those things that I don't think people realize is going to really drive the RWA narrative forward. This type of thing right here, because when you have smart contracts built into a blockchain, like all these layer 1 and a lot of layer 2 protocols that are out there, it not only simplifies the ease of transaction, but it's also going to get to the point where if you buy a car or you buy a house, you have all of your other information also locked in the blockchain that automatically registers, automatically provides information automatically, because it's all in the smart contract, and it eliminates a huge amount of work, a huge amount of time, and also keeps everything's a lot more organized, but in a unique way that nobody else can.
Yeah, and it's not an antiquated system with like green text on the computer screen. You ever like look around and be like, how do you still have green text screens? I didn't even know they made those. You find these out of Chinese landfills. Where are you even getting these screens from? But yeah, I don't think you're gonna be selling your property anytime soon, but digitizing the records, I feel a little bit better being it's powered by Avalanche rather than some random clerk named Charisse who hates her job.
Yeah, it's just there's so much development's gonna take place. Everyone's gonna tokenize. All your states are gonna use blockchain. It's quite clearly the future. All these DeFi yield opportunities. I want to show the charts here really quick, though. I do want to just play the bear case real quick before we move to the next article. As DZ pulls it up.
Bitcoin here on the 1 minute, and someone's saying we are dumping. We're still a little bit higher than the previous low we set a few hours ago, and maybe potentially creating some higher lows.
Well, what I wanted to point out was, 100% was, we're kind of retesting those previous all-time highs, right? So this is like, honestly, if you're like following a Wyckoff, I'm sure this strategy kind of follows suits into this, where there's a change of character. But that retest of even all the way down to 105.8, you can see Sin City Cryptos, they got some great levels here.
Look at this 1 hour.
Their TA here. I look smart today. But no, ultimately, we're expecting this retracement here, right? It's from 112. We went from 75K, everybody screaming for a recession, to almost go $112,000 in the time span of 5 weeks. So we are all expecting this pullback here. It's why we've been trading shorts in the Discord. It's why we're making so much money being able to trade right now. But I want to point out, again, because people are asking, like, what's the bear case here? The bear case here for me in the short term is simply if you look at the Bitcoin futures here, which is it BFTC? It's BFTC1, right? Why isn't that popping up?
BTC1 exclamation point. I think
Maybe you have to hit
receiving.
crypto because you're on all.
It's
Hit
one-
crypto.
That's okay. One exclamation point.
No.
BTC1
Maybe stock.
exclamation.
Yep, we're gonna try it right now. BTC1. I'm gonna show you guys this. I'm gonna show you guys. This is the one thing we're watching here. We're talking about a little bit earlier in the stream here. It doesn't exist anymore. It's actually gone forever. Let's try this one.
BlackRock
No.
removed it. It's a Larry
BlackRock
Fink.
moved the alpha here, but it's the gap down towards, I believe, $92,000 on the futures gap. I have to bring this up, right? People are always like, oh, you're gonna be a bear. No, it'd be healthy for this to happen. But that futures gap filled when everybody said it would never fill at 77K. They're like, no, it's at 100,000. We're gonna never see it again. Market manipulation is very easy. And we're talking, but what is that? 10%, 15% on Bitcoin's price?
And something you're talking about, these gaps that you're talking about, where you have a futures gap created, the markets on the traditional side are closed, and the 24/7 in Bitcoin keeps running and leaves that gap behind. I studied them very closely, even before 2023. And then, when we had institutions come in, BlackRock came in. Ever since the beginning of 2023, we literally have not missed a single one of them. I didn't take, we were starting to lose the hit rate. We were at like 85% up till 2023. And then since then, we have literally not missed a single one of them. So there is one at 92 right there.
Yeah.
And that's the main one, because that's the true no wick complete hole where no wick went through a liquidity grab. The 96 one does have a wick that they were able to cover a lot of.
Right. On the 92 level too, there's going to be so many eyes on it once it does start. If it does breach below 105 and it hits 98,
Can you explain
if it
real
gets,
quick, Kelly, what the futures gap is, though?
Yeah, let's back it up.
the futures gap essentially is Bitcoin is traded on exchanges as Bitcoin, but then we also have Bitcoin futures on the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, that trades essentially on the traditional finance trading hours that the options and futures trading does for the traditional market.
The Monday to Friday.
Right. So it closes during a gap during the day, but then it reopens, but then it also on Friday night closes and then opens Sunday. So the gaps that most predominantly we're talking about is when the futures market closes on Friday. If Bitcoin's price moves up 5% over the weekend and the futures open on Sunday, then the futures open up higher than where it closed. You have a gap there, which essentially is a target that you can just look at on the chart. That is very likely that the price at some point is going to come back down and flush through that area. So there's liquidity that's explored that area in the futures market before it continues or breaks down from there.
I'm actually curious on like how long before the futures market's 24/7 and we no longer have to have gaps.
You know what? That's a great question because, Ondo's doing great things there.
Yeah.
I know even Avalanche Injectives already got, a couple of different major tech players. Kraken
I
starting.
think they're going to do the
list.
same thing stock market's doing. They're doing a slow roll where it'll maybe start opening earlier on Sunday, maybe closing later on Saturday, then earlier on Sunday, then later. Now is maybe going until Saturday morning. And then eventually that's when we'll get. I don't think they'll get rid of it entirely.
Right.
I think they'll do the slow squeeze on the hours.
It's a squeeze, but it'll be an interesting day to where you don't have futures gaps created anymore.
Yeah.
Which is like going to be an interesting market mechanic for the manipulators behind the scenes, the institutions that have been doing it for so long. Like it's going to be an active market. That's I'm getting nerdy, but that's getting me excited. Either way, what's getting me excited as well is the exposure of, it's 97%. 97% of his Bitcoin holdings have been identified here. 53,000
Wow,
Bitcoin.
Nice update there.
Yeah, that is.
The blockchain nerds are on the case.
Yeah.
I'll find his Bitcoin.
Challenge accepted.
They're out for it. But for all of our fans from the UK, check this one out. Leading UK PM candidate just announced to cut capital gains tax on Bitcoin as he does the good old Nazi salute. No, I'm just kidding. That's the famous motion, I guess, that in today's.
He's going to get canceled for that. He's in
gotta
the
get
UK.
canceled. But just let me type 1 in chat if you're bullish on the UK. Type 2 in chat if you're bearish on the UK. I don't know if this new party can actually end up even taking over. I feel like the whole Europe landscape right now is like, if you didn't go to their same fraternity, you're not in that same fraternity, right? So you're just not going to be able to at all move up as an elected official. And it seems to me that even though they're a democracy, I don't know. I really don't trust that system at all.
I feel like I've
people
talked
are
to
just plopped into
dozens.
this.
I've talked to dozens of Europeans during this conference, and not a single one is like, "Oh, we're crushing it in Europe." They're all like,
They're like,
"I don't know
"What
we're
the
doing,
fuck?"
man. I don't know what we're losing it."
It's like
They're all bearish on the continent.
It's like the whole, like all of Europe. They're like,
well,
yeah,
even with like some of the stuff they did with like the MiCA compliance and stuff. I know
Portugal's pretty
a
good.
friend of mine and a friend of the channel. We've had a lot of his charts on the Quentin Francois. He's from Brussels, and he moved to Dubai. Yeah, okay, Dubai is great, but it was also because as somebody that works in crypto that also does media content, he legally, in order to do any content that he was going to put out to be MiCA compliant, he'd have to submit it 30 to 90 days ahead of to get an approval to put it. How would we get anything done to provide content in crypto if you had to get an approval for it 90 days out? This market moves at the drop of a dime, and you've got to be able to remain nimble. And that's just content. I can't even imagine the rest. So seeing that from the UK, they're actually somebody's at least proposing something that's a positive movement. I hope that they move towards that direction, because I feel like they got a lot of ground to catch up from some pretty big backtracking on progressive ideas.
And speaking of positive movement, you're about to have positive movement on 12 altcoins. We're talking to you, altcoin holders. Major news. We just got major listings for some major coins. So stay in to see, are your coins in this list here?
Alt seasons confirmed.
We have maybe. So it's eToro. eToro just listed 12 new currencies here. So I want to throw them out. Aave, Cardano, Chainlink, Comp, Doge. I'm blind, y'all, so I'm trying to look here. ETH Classic, is that ETH Classic?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Litecoin, XRP, Stellar Lumens, Shiba Inu, Uniswap, and YFI, the DeFi protocol.
You're in finance.
Yeah, you're in finance.
Dude, you're in finance is a lot of people don't really know what you're in finance is. It hit $100,000 a unit last cycle.
Yeah, I hate that price.
Yeah.
I hate that price. People don't want to buy expensive coins. You know, I think
Yeah.
that's one of the main things keeping people away from Bitcoin. No one gets excited about buying 1% of a coin. People do get excited about buying a trillion of some crappy meme coin.
Mhm.
Even if you tell them Bitcoin's going to go up, this is going to trend to zero. Yeah, but I have more coins.
Right.
It's just going to be, a lot of people. The 100K is nuts, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember watching it last cycle, and it came in at like $4,000 or $5,000. Now it's sitting here toiling in its second cycle in at around 9,000. There are, developments and connections to other projects that it's involved with, but this is just a highlight on how insane alt season gets, and it was a very short amount of time that blow off top. A lot of people that took the profits on that thing. It comes in and goes quickly. I can stay married to Bitcoin when you are gaining Satoshis in that manner. For the love of God, take profit.
In the chat, everybody smash the like button for Drew's outfit. A lot of people just still commenting on it, Drew.
Oh yeah,
they love it.
This gets all kinds of opinions. I wear this around town. I'm not shy about it. It's a good conversation starter. I like talking to people about Bitcoin and the rights of, and I want to talk about the Europe thing. A lot of Europeans that I've talked to, here's the main theme: shame. That's what I get.
They have
personal shame. They have personal shame,
cultural shame.
Yeah. And I think that this is not only on the micro regulations and really wanting the financial freedom. I think that fever pitch and that wish for financial freedom in those sectors will be pretty strong because of the controls that are coming in from the government.
Crackdown, similar to the truckers in Canada.
Absolutely.
That's you kind of eventually. There's too many straws on that camel's back, and it eventually.
Well, that was why one of my favorite sort of paraphrase quotes from JD Vance yesterday at his speech, and what a great speech with gravitas here. Keynote speech at the Bitcoin conference was Bitcoin is your sort of hedge against bad policy in government.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing any nation. No matter what they're doing on any of their other policies and what they're doing, if they're actively taking steps to limit Bitcoin versus doing nothing at all and letting it just sit, that's at least okay. But any nation that's moving towards any sort of empowerment of the tool set, the regulatory clarity, the landscape around Bitcoin is, I think, the best move any nation could make, because that is a step towards personal freedom. It's championing.
It's also what makes it so interesting when you meet like Europeans that are so like strong advocates for I've met quite a few that they still love Europe. They're very left leaning like politically, and they think that we should still money print. We should have these centralized like entities, and it's so confusing to me because I'm like, no matter what, you're still under the umbrella of the largest loan shark in the world, which is the United States. Like your economy will never be stronger than us, and that's not to like brag or be like, oh, I'm an American. It's to be like your only option is Bitcoin. So like, why are you pushing this away? Why are these UK prime ministers, all these prime ministers going, you know what? We don't want to touch Bitcoin. It's bad for the banks. It's bad for our systems. It's like, dude, your currency is collapsing. It's debasing against the US dollar. You have no option here. You are in debt to the US, and the only way out is Bitcoin. And like you said, so it's just a perfect hedge against all government policy. It just seems like the logical step forward.
Well, they have to lie so they can hold on to their control. But once that dam breaks, it's going to be like the Hoover Dam. Since we're in Vegas, it's going to be a torrential downpour. People just pouring into a better system, which is Bitcoin.
People saying they'll believe it when they see it. But what I want to do here is because, we've been at this Bitcoin Maxi conference, and man, I'm starting to turning orange a little bit. We're all going to start looking like the president very soon if we're not careful. I want to talk about altcoins, right? Because there's a lot of conversation at this conference still of new exciting technology, new exciting innovation, what sectors are going to be the best sectors, where institutional inflows are going to go, even if retail doesn't show up for 2 years. So I just want to kind of go through here. We're going to ask chat first, guys. What are your most exciting altcoins you're holding? We're going to pull up a few of these because I got some alpha for you guys. I want to go around the room here, start with Kelly. Just go, what is like one takeaway you've gotten from this conference for potential sectors? That's what we do at these conferences, guys. And that's what's allowed us. The AI bubble is sold the exact top. Wasn't because I'm smarter than everybody. It's not because I've been studying, harder than everybody. Because I was simply in Panama at a conference and listening to these developers, literally just asking them, hey, is this worth its value? And they're all like, I don't know. I was like, okay, that's a top signal. So same thing here today.
For me, it's going to be Cardano and his potential role with Bitcoin DeFi.
Okay, so Bitcoin DeFi, Cardano. Go ahead, hit us.
For me, it's Chainlink. Swift,
Yeah.
It's Chainlink and Swift. That's one of the most hard-sided
Let's
partnerships.
back up a little bit. Swift, more than just a Pokemon.
Yeah,
move.
so Swift is the current way to send money internationally.
The largest global payments network.
It was launched by
the-
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift's in control. Travis Kelce's in the background.
Take your
But
booster, please.
This is, we talk about all these partnerships and all these things, and right behind Chainlink in this actual existing partnership for testing transactions on the blockchain with Swift, the current way that you send international payments. Then right behind that, I think Ondo excites me, going after tokenizing Wall Street with BlackRock having your back in the process of doing so. I think that's where I get the validation that Ondo's likely going to be doing some pretty
So
interesting.
the DeFi protocols that adhere to regulatory framework.
Yeah.
Seems to be the thing.
Absolutely. And in that frame of mind, like Morpho being the chosen one within Coinbase, who Coinbase, I think, is the chosen one within the US crypto transaction framework. So if I go after Morpho because it essentially has that spot. So I think those three, and then Aerodrome for the swaps and things like that, just beyond that. But I'm cheating all these things.
What do you got, Kelly?
Yeah, Ondo, Chainlink, Tau are my top three, and then Arrows in there, Morpho. But Ondo, Chainlink, Tau, they kind of hit variety of different sectors that overlap a bit. And I still think that Link is the most underpriced asset in the digital asset ecosystem. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it somewhere in the top 5 by maybe not this cycle, but within the next 5 years, I think it's going to get up there. If there was any coin that had even the chance of flipping ETH, I think the only coin that could potentially flip ETH would be Chainlink, but we'll have to see how that goes.
So for the audience listening in, and I'll give my pointers here too, but we live in I love all these price picks you guys are saying, but ultimately Bitcoin DeFi by far the biggest narrative because this is so logical. And that's why we need to pay attention. We were early to this with the Bitcoin layer 2 DeFi around the halving when we had Rune launching and everything. That industry is maturing massively. Why? As these institutions accumulate billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in Bitcoin, they want to know how to use that Bitcoin. They don't want to sell the Bitcoin. They want to use it. And that is all through Bitcoin yield. And that is the biggest conversation at this conference. Because not only is it a hedge against inflation, not only is it a hedge against, a debasement of, foreign currency, this is a way to earn yield on a asset that's maturing, an asset that is growing, and it incentivizes all these companies to add it to their balance sheet.
But you also,
so how do all these companies use their Bitcoin?
But you also, with the Bitcoin DeFi, you and I back to back, there's 3 or 4 interviews you and I both did 2 days ago that it wasn't planned this way, but each one of them, the entire topic from the people we were interviewing were developing in the Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem, all doing slightly different things, creative, very sort of groundbreaking new mechanisms. But to use, the point here is, we have DeFi and ETH. There's a question about this, though, that I do think institutional players will have, which is the security factor that Bitcoin has over any other protocol that's out there, and keeping it within that ecosystem. But the interesting thing is, even within this idea of Bitcoin maximalism, they're also awareness that there's a whole other technology sector within blockchain, which is the altcoin sector with ETH and Solana and Cardano and all these things. And we're seeing these Bitcoin DeFi protocols that are being developed also have mechanisms to integrate and do basically wrapped Bitcoin into Cardano, wrap Bitcoin into, rather than having wrapped ETH, basically utilizing the Bitcoin security layer while also staying on that top liquidity chain that also has the highest security. And the conversation is just
Wix, one platform, any website, unlimited creation.
Lackluster excitement from retail because there was hype around Bitcoin DeFi last year. It's like it didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything. Well, everybody out there, listen to me. The price in the speculative market doesn't always determine that this project is doing something or not. A lot of times the speculative market drives a narrative that fluctuates price or makes it drop to the downside. And you go, oh, well, what are they actually doing? What are the fundamentals? What are they developing? What are the new partnerships? That's where your secret sauce is. So you can actually identify something, and you might have to hold a little bit of a time. But then when you get that pop, somebody's going to say you're lucky. You're like, no, I was looking at the data.
Oh, you're a part of it. So Bitcoin DeFi, number one. Number two, tokenization by far. It's all stablecoin conversation, how to earn yield, how to back the US dollar, how to bring more value to the United States. Number three, though, did anyone pick up on the third one that's been discussed?
Avalanche.
Avalanche.
No, I was thinking AI.
AI.
Yeah.
AI for sure.
AI. Yeah. It's how to automate every single process that exists in the world. Like anything you can think of. So AI is going to come back. It's just going to be in different ways. So like it's now out there, but it's creating new creator economies. It's creating new ecosystems. It's just there's a lot of value to that. One of them, I had the opportunity. Well, actually, post this interview on Discover as well. It was the inventor of prediction markets in the United States. His name's Jeremy. He is one of the lead investors into Polymarket as well. And they're going to be launching a upcoming platform as well. And I just talking to them. These are people that have built billion-dollar protocols that have built like the entire prediction model that everybody uses. You're betting on the presidents. You're betting on, the weather. You're betting on anything. Like meme coins and stuff will come back. But there's like this AI creator economy that's making it easy for music industries, for content creation industries. And there's a really cool format. And how do you incentivize that creation, giving that value back to the user and protecting your IP rights? Because the biggest conversation around AI, guys, it's not like a happy conversation. It's a scary conversation. It's what is your right to privacy?
Yeah.
What does your right to IP, your copyright look like in 5 years from now? When you have people like Sam Altman who, want to scan your eyeballs and remove IP, consume all your data, farm all that data so he can sell it on the black market to China, wherever he wants to. They're lobbying for that type of policy so they can control that. Well, what does that mean for us, especially as AI becomes more and more dominant, right? Do you own that IP? Do you own that right? When you are typing in the chat GPT, right? All this information, you have a PhD, you've been to school, you're a medic, or whatever you're doing, you're writing books, you're, creating content strategies, all within chat GPT. Do you own that information? Do you have the right to that IP? Because if not, you have to realize every single time you type something in and hit search, that data is being farmed, and that data is incredible.
Well, even if it's posted online, the second it's posted online, that's the debate about IP is a major one too, because whether you're a songwriter or just a journal artist, how much can you tell it? Because even as a human, if I create a piece of art myself, some of that's going to be derivative of things that I've accumulated in my awareness over time. With AI, very much so. How much is that AI generative thing that it's doing actually being creative versus taking, pieces, derivatives of different things that they've seen and then piecing it together to create this new thing? And does that you step on the IP rights of others? And that's why I loved what JD Vance also said yesterday about, I didn't want to make it a political party thing, but that the right was very much in the Bitcoin and crypto focus area. The left is very much in the AI. And like, we need to make sure
one's control, one's freedom.
Yeah. We need to make sure that these things work in tandem, because AI is going to be essentially the governor of how our culture moves forward. So we all need to have voices in both of these and participate.
Well, this is real world stuff we're talking about, because here in Vegas, it's boiled down. I think I talked about this on the show, but they're doing like driverless cars now.
Yeah.
Right. Like the idea of needing to up your game and your knowledge about technology and the need to find new ways to earn capital, to earn fiat money, I think is going to get very, very serious over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
If people's jobs that they have right now, if they can be automated, they will be.
Yes.
So we need to, that's a lot of the reason, not just the freedom aspect, but the time and the essence of how fast we need to get ahead of this and to get invested in the right things. That's what gets me up in the morning and pushes me on, to yell at the camera. And here we are. I'm talking to AI algorithmic robots right now on the internet.
Yeah.
They're out there harvesting what we're saying. They're out there on X. They're out there, taking the information in. They're making their models stronger. And we just have to continue to
And not only that, if we get Skynet, what currency will the robot pay themselves? Is it going to be fiat with some Walmart gift cards?
Right. They're not going to
Or
care
they're going
about
to
it.
use crypto.
Which, guys, if you have any questions for us, roll them in. We're going to do some Q&A here with altcoins just while we're at the conference yet. Yep. So if you guys got questions, start rolling those bad boys in.
We do have a quick update on the Bitcoin price chart, on the 1 minute chart. We losing a little bit of that support here. We're talking about, we may potentially be creating some higher lows as Bitcoin tries to find a floor this morning. But now, nice, fresh red action. Look at Bitcoin. Woo, look at this 1 minute candle going nuts. This candle's going nuts, folks. So I don't know. Michael Saylor, he must have not said something bullish enough this morning.
I mean, this is semi-breaking. Federal judge pauses tariff ban and grants Trump 14 days to appeal.
Yep. There's a battle.
Okay, so now it's more likely tariffs are going to come to fruition.
So here's the deal. We're battling all
probability.
these markets, Bitcoin, NVIDIA, Apple. The markets in general have been battling this ultra bullishness of what's going to come with this administration, while also battling what is the tariff impact and how do we play this? Because we want the markets to run, but we also don't want to be participating if it's going to dump. So you're seeing this push-pull in these markets that just, it's been frustrating as it could be, but it's been great for traders and those that are looking for those dip buying opportunities.
Yeah, we got one of the altcoin questions here. Price target for Ondo. Now, this is a little bit of an oversimplification here on the weekly chart, but I honestly think Ondo has a good chance of following this trend line here. And so if we see maybe some sort of top Q1 2026, let's go all the way. Wow, man, looking a little more bullish than I was even expecting. If say we top out around March, you're knocking on the door of $4 right there. And some say $4 Ondo's FUD. A lot of people call for $10.
Yeah, I'm literally like Ondo man, and I say $4. Like, you are not there. You're not bullish enough. It's again, but like, how much liquidity you play? That's
well, and also like what's like, it's like they're going to tokenize the stock market. Okay, maybe they will, and I likely think they're going to get a good portion of that.
Morpho or
but
Plume?
what is the timeline?
That's going to take years.
Yeah.
We got another question.
JP Morgan was huge.
Morpho or Plume?
Morpho.
Ooh, I got both, but I go Morpho.
So Alpha on Plume, we'll have their
both
co-founder
too.
on soon. They're one of the only, if not the only, RWA platform in New York City, and they got a lot of access. They just met with the CFTC and the SEC, I believe.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So they got a lot of institutional backing and partners. I would say if you're looking at a small cap, because that's a small cap, like
It is.
400 million.
It is.
It's a great RWA. I think it's a great play if it's like a,
That's a big deal with the New York legislation that just went through.
it's huge.
That's a
yeah.
big deal.
So I actually invited them I got to meet them at the Mayor Summit last week.
Yeah. Okay.
And they are very involved with helping politically deregulating it, but they have huge institutional interest, and that's why they're building in New York. There's very few that are building in New York. I'm telling you right now, the companies that are building in New York will be favored as everything rolls out first.
Yeah.
They have its first mover advantage. So Ondo, like these companies, Ondo is hosting the summits, right? With like BlackRock and all these stuff. So you just want to watch that industry, but I think Plume's great. We called Plume at 9 cents.
Yeah. We got another super chat there. Aptos or SWI. Well, I actually pulled up the trading pair where we compare the two assets. Doesn't look that good for Aptos. If I'm going to be honest here, Aptos or SWI.
Yeah,
which one would you choose?
Would be just because of how strong it is in the narrative.
Look at the chart there.
ETF.
Aptos bleeding against SWI. This is weekly.
Well, look at Aptos against big. Aptos just has Aptos like OP here. But Aptos has a lot of tokenization
Bitcoin here,
which is interesting.
Aptos, well, nice little pump there. Aptos not looking great against Bitcoin either.
Let's pull up OP. OP chart's the one I like. Because Optimism is a little bit cyclical. If you guys don't know this, their SuperNet is actually pretty sick, or a Super Stack or whatever it's called. They have base on
Super
it.
chain.
And we talked about hitting some of this earlier support as well.
Look, and those volume spikes come back, and they're very VC oriented. So I would imagine that they're going to do a pretty large marketing campaign.
Daily.
I think OP will be a decent one to catch a nice swing on. I'm not holding long term, but those are swing altcoins for sure. Those are trading in out.
I reiterate, when those swings come, for the love of God, take your profits into Bitcoin. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we go. It is 10 o'clock. We're going to pass the studio over to Sin City Crypto. If I could share the screen real quick, make sure you are subbed to this channel.
Bitcoin has been absolutely boring.
I say the best Michael
For
Saylor.
6 damn months.
Okay, there we go.
Dave was yelling at us.
What the heck?
Michael Saylor impression in the entire industry.
Holy
Hold on
shit.
a second. Breaking news. Breaking news. Is this
Eugene just died, the CTO from Plume.
holy moly? Sad news.
rest
this
in-
morning.
Rest in
Condolences.
peace, Eugene.
Oh,
That is sad, man.
What?
that's
Wow.
so terrible.
That is
Alright, well,
insane.
and yeah, so
I mean, man, on that
that's,
note,
that's a
guys,
tough one.
rest in peace. Much love to the Plume community, but dude, that is
Hate to hear it. Hate to hear it.
hate to hear it, man.
All right. Well, hate to end on that type of somber note, though. But go ahead, smash. I'm not even gonna say it. That is unfortunate to hear, but just got to be careful out there. We're trying to point you in the right direction to minimize these losses if something like that does happen. So maybe you want to look at that chart if you are in that coin, though.
Yeah.
But that's all we got. We're gonna pass it to Sin City Crypto. Make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you sub to this channel. And if you didn't catch last night's upload, I went to JD Vance's speech. I laid down my thoughts. We kind of talked about it. Bitcoin DeFi is going to be the big winner there. And let's pass it off to Sin City. See you at the top.
Chachos.
Marijuana.